You're listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaff.
And me, Danny Denhard.
And we're going to look at the LLMs today, and we're going to look at why we think Google Gemini is starting to have a huge advantage over the others. So this really comes from looking at where else these organizations are. The thing that Google has had all the way through this process, but has not really leveraged well until this year, is of course you've got Gmail, you've got Google Docs, you've got Sheets, you've got all the other tools there. But importantly, you've also now got almost 30 years of search history, all indexed and built in. So what Gemini has is access to a whole load of stuff that Claude and ChatGPT and the others are busily scrambling to learn. And what we're already seeing now is we're seeing Gemini is far less likely to hallucinate than the other platforms are because it's looking at real data. It's far better integrated, and it really is. The integration now in the browser and some of the other things is really getting to be quite strong. So you start to feel that they were late to the party, Google, no question about that, but they are catching up quickly, and they may well achieve dominance next year. Who knows? Early to say. Dan, I know you've done a lot of thinking about this subject, so let me give the stage to you to talk a little bit more.
Brilliant setup, by the way. Thank you. There's a couple of sides I think a lot of people haven't necessarily considered. Google really struggled in the early days of being an AI company. So they always knew they were a search company, but they really misunderstood how to transition from being search plus into becoming an AI first, AI only sort of style company. And what they've done recently is really clever. As you said, they've sat it across all of the main use cases. So workspace, for instance, Sheets, Docs, Slides, etc. It's there ready, waiting to help you and become an assistant for you and help you optimize what you're doing. Obviously, in search, they've moved across and had it so it appears within a load of different search terms. I think one of the bugbears most people will have is it's killed some traffic to businesses, but what that's also done is and what I say to businesses having like a strong background is some of that traffic it's taken away from you probably shouldn't have had in the first place, or it's just taken away answering those questions that aren't really that important. So they've really worked it out. To shift from an advertising-based company into an AI-first and subscription-based company is no small feat. So actually, they've really thought about how they can implement it across YouTube. So 80% of recommendations are AI-driven now, and it gives you that real thoughtful approach from the leadership team. And what they've done is and integrating it into Google Analytics, integrating it into even search more deeply. They've really understood it. So one thing I often think and don't really have a chance to talk around is how they thought about the paid version versus the free version. So Notebook LM is something I talk around a lot on here, but that's free and completely free, and it's unique to you. So what you can do with Notebook LM and all the features that it has built in that is way, way better than most of the paid tools and subscriptions that you have with some of the other tools. AI Studio is you can create mini apps and things like that, and micro tools. I've shared a few here before, and I think just being able to say in natural language for free what you can do is almost priceless. And the image creation one is something it's so vitally important because what it can do is what you'd have to pay a subscription for an app or dedicated software before. So they really have been smart. Nano Banana was really a turning point for them. And if you have a look at the usage of similar web data, it's eating away slowly but surely at ChatGPT. So to me, it screams out smart leadership, really understood how their products advance and can be a true assistance. And now what they're thinking of is when you're using it, how can it be most useful? So one of the examples they've just announced is how it can save people money agentically. So you set a price for a product. Once the product drops in price, you can then enable it to go and buy that product at that price that you wanted it at. So you can just think about how powerful that is. And that's all AI built in a tool that you use all the time. They've been so smart at integrating it in and rebuilding it almost from the ground up. And if we just look into the future, we've got agent-to-agent mode, A to A, or is what they call it, and then they've released the AP2 framework, which is their foundation around agentic commerce, basically. And that's going to be all baked into the Gemini ecosystem. And you just have to think about how powerful that is and how much harder all the other LLMs are going to have to work. So to take off my strategic hat and don it to someone, I think Sundar and the rest of the Google and Alphabet leadership team has to go off to them. And I do think out of all the really big companies, they've been the most thoughtful and frugal and strategic of all of them. And I think it just goes to show when you've got a giant like Google that you could really mess up by just throwing AI mode on. They've just been so deliberate and delicate with it that it just outshines all the others.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the quality of the management is seen in the fact that, as we said, they were late to the party. They were caught on the hop in 22, 23 by what happened with OpenAI. At the time, their position was they've gone too early and this is not, we've got this technology, but it isn't secure enough, we don't think, and it's dangerous to put it out there, which may or may not have been true. But anyway, the perception was they had been caught napping. But the way they've responded in the last couple of years has really brought that thing back to the fore. And if I was Sam and the OpenAI leadership, I would be looking over my shoulder pretty hard at Google because they are really starting to get this thing together. I think it doesn't change our advice to people, Danny. Like, if you've got a favorite LLM, stick with it. They at any given point at the moment, they hop each other over. At any given point, one of them is better than the others, and then 6 weeks later, a different one's better as an LLM. But this integration with all the other tools they have and the access to the search data they have just might give Google the edge over the next few months, I think, as we look forward.
Yeah, and as long as we think more long term than short, if you choose a model that's great for you and you're embedded into it, great. If you're still unsure or you want to try other models, then the two clear favourites for now and the leaders of the pack are ChatGPT and Gemini. And one of the reasons I've waxed lyrical before, but one of the reasons why I chose Gemini over Claude and then ChatGPT before was because it did sit across where I worked most often and helped optimize the work I was producing, and helps us greatly on the pod and the newsletter and things like that. So, like you said, choose the model that works best for you. But in the future, we might have less competition, but much better output from LLMs.
Plus, I mean, it's an interesting point you just raised. Do you want to just talk for 1 minute about the process by which you produce the pod from the recording? Because I know that's highly automated with Gemini, and that might be a good use case to share with people. Just can you give us a minute on that?
Sure. So what we do is when we record using a sort of piece of software called Riverside. It then breaks down the transcript. I use Descript, which enables me to edit the pod as if it was in a Google Doc. And then I pump in the transcript into Gemini, and I have a small prompt. It's not very long. And I say, write us a 600-word newsletter based on the transcript. It needs to break down the most important takeaways, the actions people should take, the tools we referenced. And then within literally 30 seconds, it puts it together for us. I then edit it as a human editor. So it's almost like a newsroom. And then I take the 600 words it creates and I've edited and asked it to write the show notes. And then I go through just to make sure it's all good to go. And then it lands in your inbox and it lands in your ears. So that's just one way. I probably save, say, 2 hours a week easily on that. And you can apply that to almost everything that you could do with audio or video recording. And you could roll it out, and Claude does it. ChatGPT does very similar. I like Gemini doing it because it knows my voice, understands the prompts, and really lands the output. So that's us in about 60 seconds.
How about that? Thank you for that. Dan, good to see you, my friend, and I will see you next time.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for listening today, everyone. If you liked what you heard, please give us a rating and review in any of the podcast players. We have a supporting newsletter, which is aimoment.co.uk, that comes out on Mondays and Fridays with every pod, and we dive a little bit deeper. So please subscribe there. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.